Hi there. Today we're going to be talking about self-sabotage. So, self-sabotage is something that we all do at various times in our lives. We do it with our spouses, we do it with our friends, we do it with our colleagues, we do it with our employers. We are innately hardwired to protect ourselves. So, when we are feeling um, I guess, when we feel threatened in any way, we go into these self-sabotaging behaviors so that we protect ourselves. But self-sabotage can be really overt, but it could be also really nuanced and very subtle. And I want to talk to you today about how we sabotage our relationships in the most subtlest ways we're not even aware of. Like we say all the time, right? I'm sabotaging my relationships. I'm sabotaging myself. We say this all the time, and yet we don't really understand where it's coming from and how to stop it. So today I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to talk to you about the tricks and the tips you can use on yourself to identify when you're just about to sabotage yourself, and then the things to ask yourself before you engage in the self-sabotaging behavior. Sounds like a plan, right? So we're really gonna lock this self-sabotaging stuff down because as I said, it can be really overt, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll give you some examples. Or it can be so subtle that we just feel that it's the way we are, or that we are somehow protecting ourselves, that we have these red flags. So I talk about red flags, of course, because red flags are important. It's important for you to pay attention to your reaction to things, but it's how you respond and how your brain processes the red flag that's the most important part. Okay? So let's get into it. I've been counseling a lot of women, and when we go through the work and the program, it's beautiful to see the transition in the first couple of months. And then the last month is key because that's where we get into the nuances around relationship. And I've just had some great conversations the other day with a couple of the members, and both of them identified really key self-sabotaging types of behaviors. And that's the gold. When you can really identify that within yourself, you have successfully started to rewire how you do love on the most overt level. We can do it. Rewiring love comes in many ways, of course. But when we're in relationship, that's what we're looking for, right? How do we approach relationship from a different point of view than we have in the past? How do we rewire all the programming that our parents gave us and our ancestors gave us? All of that is so key. But when it comes down to really doing the work and really seeing if the work is working for you, if the work is working, that's silly. It's when you can seriously identify your self-sabotaging behaviors and then change it right there and then. That's the gold. So I want to talk to you about that. So we know overt self-sabotaging behaviors come in if you're upset about something, if you're in grief, if you've had a long, hard week and you don't feel uplifted about certain things that happen during the week at work. What's the first thing we do, right? We let loose on a weekend, right? TGIF, party, let's go drinking, let's have our wine, let's get rid of all that. And on some level that's self-sabotaging, because if you're trying to be healthy and heal and stay energetic and stay really clear-minded, then that eating processed food, eating crappy food, eating what we call comfort food, all of that, and drinking wine is contrary to really what you want to be doing. So that's an overt self-sabotaging. You know it's bad for you, you do it anyway, right? Easy peasy. You got that down. There's all kinds of ways to divert that if you're looking at diet. However, when you are looking to start to date again, or if you're already in a relationship that's not working out and you're trying to figure it out, an overt type of self-sabotaging behavior can be as simple as if your new partner, your date, wants to open the door for you. And now, of course, I'm talking in a heterosexual relationship, but this can happen in any gendered relationship. If your partner wants to do something nice for you, I'm just going to use the example of opening the door, or yeah, let's just leave it at that. They want to open the door for you, right? But you know that you're a strong, independent person. You don't need anybody to help you. So you go and grab for the door yourself, and you go through the door yourself without even really acknowledging them. That right there, you are self-sabotaging your relationship. Okay, why? You're self-sabotaging your relationship because you have denied a gift of service, a gift of consideration, a gift of love from the partner, okay? From your potential lover, potential partner. So, although you have this definition of who you are, strong, independent, don't need anybody's help, you're actually self-sabotaging yourself to the point where that person is just going to stop helping you. They're not going to care for you anymore. They're not going to bother to open the door for you anymore. And what you're actually doing, if you're talking about a male, you're actually emasculating him, because that's how he defines himself, as the provider, as the protector. Males do that. Like a strong, healthy, secure male has that within them. Okay, so that's one way of overtly sabotaging your relationship. Another way is to pay attention to your inner voices. And now, Amy was amazing at subverting this type of self-sabotaging behavior with herself as she's starting to date. And before she even looked at him, she'd been talking to a guy. They were meeting up for a coffee date. And before she even got to know him, she saw him and noticed he was a bit shorter than what she expected. So she started to hear her inner voice criticize this potential lover that he was too short. She immediately identified that and started talking back and saying, there's no way that this makes any difference right now. You need to stop this critical voice. And so she was able to completely subvert that. And she even caught herself as she was going for the door. So congratulations, Amy, for that. This is where these little nuanced voices in our head tell us that we are not, we're better than, or, we've got this list of type style, right? That sort of, we lock that in. Oh, I can only date someone who's tall, dark, and handsome. I can only date somebody who has blue eyes. I can only date somebody who's 6 feet or above. That's self-sabotaging. If you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your potential, right? When you have these really restrictive, confined types of, superficial characteristics that you think you need, right? So that type of list I don't promote. I mean, of course, you're going to want to make sure you have a list of requirements, like, are your values the same? How do they treat you? All those lists. Remember, we talked about that in the master class. Those are the characteristics and how they treat you are the most important types of things. Your values. How do you want to be treated? That list is good. Superficial stuff, not good. Security, absolutely good. Okay, so when you start with the inner critic and you allow that critical voice to start making criticisms against your partner, and you listen to them, you're going to make sure that you manifest what you're fearing, right? Which is, somebody who isn't compatible with you without even allowing the opportunity to come in. So that's another subtle way. And even a more subtle way is when we are still running from our wounding story, right? We're still running from pain. We're still presenting our options and picking someone with our pain story. Then we are always going to have that filter in front of us, right? The filter of pain. I was cheated on. I was lied to. I can't trust anyone. They're all losers. They're all narcissists. Okay, when you have that filter of wounding still up, when somebody does something nice for you, or even a potential partner could even maybe even say something. For example, another example with another client or another member, she was observing a new potential partner at a gathering, and they were talking about a topic. It was something that he was doing, and he was telling her how he was asking his friends and colleagues their opinions. And in her mind, she defined that as being weak, right? She defined that as being weak of character, that he couldn't make decisions on his own. And, we caught that and we switched that around. But that was where she was starting to self-sabotage. She was going to sabotage this potential amazing relationship by defining him as weak of character, not secure. And in fact, he had so many other amazing qualities. So we had to really bring those to the forefront and really redefine that definition that she labeled him just because she asked him. So listen, men are gatherers. They gather information too. You know that, right? So they're always going to ask their potential, confidants and business partners opinions about things. It doesn't mean that they are weak. Doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about or they don't know what they're doing. It really just means that they're gathering information, which is a good thing, which shows a sign of intelligence, because he's making sure he has all the information that he needs to make this decision. All right, so that's it. So now let's go back to how sabotage and that self-sabotage lands in your body. So you're engaging in a conversation, something's happening, red flags are coming up, right? There are really clear red flags. And when they're clear is when you know your values and when you know your worth. When those red flags come up, they are clear red flags. But when you don't have your list of values and you don't have self-assurance and you're still wounded, you're not sure whether the red flag's a real red flag or not. And you might find there's a lot of red flags, some that aren't necessarily red flags. So I want you to, number one, make your list, okay? Make your list of how you want to be treated. First of all, get clear on that. When you are experiencing red flags, then I want you to ask yourself, where is that in my body? Where is it landing? If it lands in your gut, that's fear. Okay, that's fear, and it's triggering some deep wounded story. That's your inherited love pattern. And that's what you need to question if it's not an overt, value list sort of behavior. So it's so nuanced, and it takes practice. When it's obvious and overt, it's clear, right? You're not self-sabotaging. That's something different. But when you're questioning whether or not that red flag or that inner critic is really telling you the truth, that's when you have to pay attention to how it lands in your body. Where is it? Stomach, gut, fear. If it's up here, that's hard. This is the realm. And up, if it's in your throat, same. When there's a real visceral type of physical response to something, a strong one, it's most likely your inherited love patterns. And that's where you need to question whether or not that red flag is real. So you're going to ask yourself, is this the truth? Okay? So that's the way to figure out if it's true. Because then if it isn't true, then your mind will start questioning it like Amy did, right? And like Rachel did, or Rochelle did with her potential partner. So, number one, be clear on your values. Be clear with what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate when you're with somebody, okay? Especially before you're starting to date again. Number two, when red flags come up, where is it landing in your body? Pay attention to how it feels. And then number three, ask yourself the big question, is this the truth? And wait for the answers. So now that you're an expert on self-sabotage, I want you to start practicing today because we have them coming up all the time. And I want you to practice, because the more you are clear with your guidelines, your boundaries, your values, the more you can distinguish between a true red flag and a self-sabotaging behavior. Okay? So have fun with the practice. Remember to reach out if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.